All right, everybody, back with another episode of Hillsborough and Hunterdon Real. And today I got a really special guest, stepping outside the local area to my good friend, Jonathan Rivera. Jonathan is somebody I've been following since 2015 or so, and then we connected in 2000. All right, everybody, back with another episode of Hillsborough and Hunterdon Real. And today I got a really special guest, stepping outside. Sorry about that, Jonathan.
Oh, no worries, bro. No worries.
Should be live. All right, everybody, back with another episode of Hillsborough and Hunterdon Real. And today I got a really special guest, stepping outside. Sorry about that. All right, I got mine on mute now on Facebook.
We got twin Kyles. It's two Kyles versus one JR. Watch it.
All right, that should be on mute. So as I was saying, guys, Jonathan, he's an excellent businessman, somebody I really look up to. I hired Jonathan and his company, the Podcast Factory, to get me started with podcasting. He said almost about 4 years ago, a little more than 4 years ago, and it's been fantastic. So Jonathan, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on, bro. Hopefully I can make this entertaining at the very least, or helpful if we're lucky.
Yeah, for sure, man. We're definitely going to get into some of your business and how you run that and how you help people. But before we get into that, why don't you kind of tell everybody where you live, and tell us a little bit about your family, so people get an idea where you're at, and then I'll dive into some questions.
All right. We are in Orlando, Florida. We live downtown, right by Lake Eola. Dreamt of living here for many, many years. Had lots of limiting beliefs that made us think we couldn't be here until just 2 years ago after we had our son, Huddy. So got a little 6-year-old boy. He's in school right now. That's why I have the quiet and peace to speak with you. And dude, I'm just stoked watching your journey, watching your growth. I've watched you get into real estate, blow up the gym, do all these things. So I'm honored to be here, and grateful that you're willing to have me on your show. And whatever I can share, bro, I'm an open book.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And it's you got a lot of wisdom to share with people. So why don't we start with your podcast company is the most reputable one out there, but how did you start that? Like, how did you even get into that? Because I know you were in real estate, or you're still in real estate, if I'm correct with that. So tell us that journey, that story.
So actually, I think it's a good time to talk about the real estate as it pertains to the new business, or new, right? New is like 12 years old. New business. Yeah, right. Well, actually, I was in real estate when the getting was good in 2000. What was it? 4, 5, 6, 7, made lots of money, lost it all, and then some, got myself into a giant hole that I had to dig back out of. And interestingly enough, as I was building my real estate business, I was simultaneously looking to protect myself from another crash. And so I looked at what other businesses I could build in tandem with the real estate business. And that's when I came to find this whole world of online business. And so as I rebuilt the real estate business, I met some really cool people. In fact, one of them is my buddy Darren Persinger, who helped me get my head on straight and say, hey, look, you're learning all these great skills of copywriting, funnels, all this magical stuff. Why don't you apply that to your real estate business? And I did that. I did exactly what he told me. Email marketing. I mean, that's really how you and I met, was email marketing. And so I applied all that to my real estate business, and lo and behold, it worked. I mean, whoa, it worked. And so now that we were just talking about it, like I have ads from 2012 that are still running for our rentals that I can't beat. I have emails that I wrote in like 2013, 2014, still running, that I don't need to change. And most of that business is automated by the things I learned as I was doing this online business thing. And so the reason I'm bringing up Darren is because when Darren said he needed to get out to more people, I said, yeah, you do, bro. You really do, because you helped me. And I know that if we get you out there to more people, we will both help more people. And that's really the seed that started the podcast factory was me and my mentors recording conversations and sharing them to help other people. And that we met through Ben Settle, which was my second show that I went on. And then I had Doberman Dan and all these other shows. And today we're up over 50 experts that we have helped get on the air, build audiences, shorten their sales cycles, all through using podcast and email marketing.
Yeah, wow, that's pretty cool how you leverage that, went right from the real estate and kind of built this whole brand and this whole company. And that was how I found you, was through email marketing. Just kind of search around podcasts, got onto your podcast, like you said, with Ben Settle. And I was just really interested in what you were doing. And it's just a fascinating journey. So how did you get into the real estate?
I was a good little deviant. I was terrible at school, and I think that my teachers passed me to just to get me out of their class. And so essentially nobody thought I'd amount to anything, and they were right for a little while. My parents told me to get a job, like go out and get a trade. I mean, exact words, I'm pretty sure these are exact words from my mom. Go out and get a trade and you always have something to fall back on. And so I got into construction right out of high school, and I did that for about 8 or 9 years. I hated it. I was looking for an escape, and my mom bought me Carlton Sheets, No Money Down. And I took that thing and I read it. Then it sat on a shelf for like 2 years. And finally, I was fed up with the blue collar lifestyle, fed up with the 7 to 3:30 jam, not being appreciated. I was really skinny back then, and I had like 50 pounds of tools on my waist, and my back was getting all screwed up. And I was like, man, something's got to change here. And so really, it wasn't until my mom died, and she died suddenly, where I was like, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And I got into a deep depression and said, I need to change. So I quit my job, dude. I had like one paycheck. It wasn't even $500. I quit my job, and I looked online and I found a real estate class. I signed up to get my license, and I figured I'd learn real estate by selling real estate, and eventually I would fall into an investment opportunity, which is exactly what happened. And in fact, I'm sitting about 50 feet from the girl who did my first closing. Cupcake, my wife, Rachel, they sent her over to do the closing on the first deal. So talk about life-changing experiences. It wasn't just that I got out of the blue collar thing. It was that I met my wife, that I found a new life, and that I'm here with you today, being able to share this journey. But you know what, Kyle? Most people are afraid to do it. And if you don't ever do it and you dream about it and talk about it, you will never be about it. And so if you got a dream, you got to go for it, or else you're going to be miserable.
Yeah, and you're a living testament to that. And what I admire so much about you is you had the thought, right? And you said the book sat on the shelf for a couple of years, like so many people do with stuff. It just stays as an idea. But then you had the courage to go out and do it. And then you had the courage to learn. I know the learning curve had to be huge with real estate and with the podcast business, because there's a lot, people think it's a simple thing to do, and it's not. So talk about, now you're coming into the podcast, your buddy, Darren Persinger, right?
Yeah.
You say, okay, let's start recording this. Then what was the learning curve though? How did you actually learn how to, okay, let's make these into podcasts, put them on iTunes? Like, how much time did you have to invest in that? What was that journey like?
So funny that you asked that, because the whole reason I got into podcasting was laziness. Back then, bro, when I got online, they had this idea, which I'm railing against today, but the idea is really persistent in our society, and I've seen it take root more recently as circumstances changed and more people were out of work and they're trying to reinvent themselves. There was this idea when I got online of thought leadership. And in order to be a thought leader, you had to have a blog. The problem was that to have a blog, you needed to write words. At that time, because you know me by now that you know I write now, but at that time I was like, writing, that's a lot of work. I got my first MacBook and I found this thing on it that said garage band. I'm like, ooh, what's this? And I start playing with it, and I get a mic, and I'm like, oh, I can record. I can just talk into a mic. Awesome. That was how it started. But then later on, I found out that if I wanted good sound and if I wanted a produced show, it would take a lot more work. So really, dude, my first 2 years doing the thought leader thing in podcasting was pretty crappy. I mean, I was putting out a crappy product, but I was putting, as we talk about, I know you talk about it too, is getting in those reps, getting in the reps, building that muscle memory, getting tougher. But dude, I learned so many valuable lessons. The first 177 episodes I did were garbage. And then I started figuring out that I needed an audio engineer and that we needed writers and that we needed a team. And so, frankly, I still don't know what I'm doing. I have a good team though. And they're the nerds behind the scenes that know how to do all the work. We got audio engineers, we got writers, copywriters, we got video guys, we got Cupcake running the show. Nowadays, I just have to talk into a mic and let them take care of it. But dude, years, and I'm still learning. I don't know. I really, frankly, don't know anything yet. I don't know how people get millions of downloads. I don't know how people get rich podcasting. I just know how to tell a story, and hopefully the right people will listen to it. And if it resonates with people, then they will eventually do business with me, just as you did.
Sure. Now, I want to dive more into that in a second, the beginner's mindset that you're talking about. But I want to go back. So with Cupcake at the closing, I want to know how you converted that into.
Yeah, they sent her there for me because it was funny because we were both young and there's a lot of, I don't know what real estate looks like now, but back then there was just a lot of old people in it and we were the few young people in it. So I knew her manager and she was trying to set us up. So she said, what, will you go do this closing? You're going to meet this guy. And I met her and I was like, wow, that girl's cute. I'm going to ask her to lunch. And she was impressed. Oh, look, this young guy is buying real estate. And then back then I was cocky AF. And so I was a big talker and all that stuff. Like now I know I practice way more humility because I don't know anything. But back then I thought I knew everything and she fell for it. And I got the date with her. And so we've been together ever since. I think we're talking about, I don't know, 16 years or so now. Most of that married.
Okay. So serendipity, man. You took action on the real estate. Like you said, a lot more came out of it.
Everything I have is because of just that decision and taking action. And it's always been that way. It's about the decision that you make, the decision that you take. It's like we have I'm Catholic. And so we have this prayer in there, or forgive me for what I have done and what I haven't done. And what I haven't done is a sin. Like if you're not doing the things that you should be doing, you do need forgiveness and you're not going to have the life that you want to have. And so I think about that all the time. What action am I not taking that I need to be taking?
So Jonathan, with that, again, because you walk the walk, what would you say to people that the stuff they're not doing, but it's because of fear that they get stuck in this fear mindset? How did you overcome that? How do you counsel people on that?
Bro, that is you're Kyle, you know what you're asking me here. You're asking me to undo thousands of years of evolution. I don't know if that's possible. All right. And so it's not about living without fear. It's about managing fear. And this is something I talk to Cupcake about all the time is when I start getting that, like I'll give you a perfect example in my life right now. You and I were talking right before we got on the air, and you were on my last project. I had you as a guest on the Daily Bread project, and we had a great time and got lots of views, by the way. So thank you for that. But I got the idea that I wanted to do something similar because I found that there was a lot of opportunity spinning off of that for our business. And so I hired a team, invested, I don't know, $7,000-8,000 for them to help me build what I'm calling the client cartel system. And it's using a podcast to increase my Rolodex and create sales opportunities. This is more intentional than what I was doing on the Daily Bread. And we have been putting the pieces together, and we started to unleash it a couple weeks ago. And I look at my calendar, bro, and I see appointments, just appointment after appointment after, like today, I've got like 3 or 4 appointments after I talk to you. And I got that fear. It's like, oh man, is this what I want? Am I giving up my life? My calendar's full. Meanwhile, go back a year ago and us in meetings saying, how do we get our calendar full of people, right? So as soon as I get what I want, boom, the fear hits. And what I've learned to do is recognize that. So as an observer, remove myself from the emotional part, say, I'm hitting fear there. I must be doing something right. Because usually when I'm scared, it's because I'm going into uncharted territory. And if I'm going into uncharted territory, it likely means I'm going to grow or the crap's going to hit the fan. But either way, I'm going.
That's good. So you use it as a compass.
Yeah, right.
Go in that direction. That's right on, man. That's right on. And now, with the beginner's mindset you were just speaking of prior to that, where you said you're still figuring stuff out, right? And people look at you as one of the world's experts in how to produce a podcast, how to put out a podcast, but you are still learning. You're still messing up, you said. How do you maintain, and why is that beginner's mindset so important?
I can't. I think it goes back to humility, and that's something that my I got the rich dad poor dad story. I have a rich dad and a poor dad, and my rich dad taught me about humility, because I told you when I met Cupcake, I was like, oh, chest all puffed out and no money in the bank, but thinking I'm hot stuff. You know what I mean? And he taught me about humility, especially when it came to our rentals. It was like, dude, you got to humble yourself. You have to. Your objective is to get the rent, and acting like a jerk off is not going to get you the rent. So you got to go ahead and lower your standards. In fact, to the point where I have some Cupcake says I have some magic where I'll the other day I asked somebody to leave the apartments, and she sent a message thanking me, and Cupcake was ready to get into a fight with her, and whatever I said to her was like, oh, thank you so much for this opportunity. And it's the idea. I don't know it all. I'm just here to learn, and so I take that same stance on everything I do. So talking with the residents, it's whatever they want. I'm just trying to help them find what they want. When we're talking about learning with the podcasting and all that, there's so much out there that I don't know. I don't know how to create a show like Rogan or Ferris. I don't know any of that stuff, and so I'm open to it, but it's not necessarily what I'm good at. And so I'm always coming from a place where I may know something, but I don't know everything. And I'll never know everything, because I want to keep learning. That's one of my lifetime goals, to be a lifetime learner and a lifetime doer. And the only way I can keep learning is by knowing that I don't know everything. And that's pretty much how I take it all. I'll take a stand here and there. I don't know everything. That's why I seek out mentors. That's why I seek out peer groups. That's why I look in books and courses and masterminds and all that, because there's so much that I don't know. And the world is so much, because, and you know this, you come from a working class family, don't you? I mean, me too. Like, our parents taught us what they could. But where I am today, my dad could have never taught me this. Just, he didn't have it. He didn't have the facilities. He didn't have the tools. My dad taught me back-breaking work. So my dad, my biological dad, is my poor dad. He's not poor, but poor dad in the sense that his idea of how the world works is back-breaking work and picking up rocks and moving them and stuff like that. Meanwhile, my rich dad taught me mind work and keeping that mind going and achieving bigger things. Even him, with the life I have today, he doesn't understand this. He would tell me I'm doing it wrong. He has told me I'm doing it wrong. And I'm like, dude, that's fine if you want to get to $10 million of lifetime net worth. But when you're trying to get to $10 million a month, you got to have some different thinking.
Yeah. You gotta, it's very true, man. Very true. Now with that, I know you just from knowing you, you have always, I've looked at as somebody that's successful because you have that mindset. Like you're constantly growing. Talk about the value that you place on being in these masterminds or having your own coaches. You know, I know you're a strategic coach. Like you're always investing in yourself. A lot of people don't understand that. They look at it as an expense. So talk about that, the investment in yourself.
I think that the very best way to explain this is the guy I'm working with now, Mark Evans. His show is called Making of a DM. DM is deal maker or dream maker, depending on how you look at it or what mood you're in that day. But he said something interesting. We were on a call, and I invest with him. And he said that he looks for the most expensive masterminds he can find. And for him, and he can get away with this, for him, he says that he likes to stroke that check and get in there, not just for the bragging rights, because that's nice, but because he is worth it. He says, I'm worth it. I'm worth it. And I like getting in that room. So, me, dude, everything I have today is because of putting myself into uncomfortable situations. Before we met, I didn't have the podcast factory. Before we met, I had a real estate training business. It was making agents rich, and we were doing stuff like getting listings, getting referrals, that kind of thing. And I was stuck. 2 years I was stuck at the same number. We hit six figures, which was a big deal back then. Hit 100 grand. I'm like, oh, finally. It only took me forever to hit 100 grand, but I did it 2 years in a row, and I said, something's got to give. So I found this mastermind. Actually, it was through a connection from Ben Settle. I found this mastermind that was more than I had ever invested in anything. It was $1,000 a month, and it blew my mind. $1,000 a month. Good God. Well, how am I going to do this? And then I had to talk Cupcake into it, and we're just like, this is dumb. 6 months into it, on every break, I went there to try to work on this making agents rich business. Nobody cared about it. Nowadays they might, because it's real estate and it's hot, but it wasn't hot back then. Every break, people would pull me off to the side and say, hey, aren't you on that show with Ben Siddle? Hey, aren't you working with Doberman Dan? Hey, don't I know you? And we're like, light bulb. The opportunity is the podcast factory. So I shut down the real estate business that year and focused on the podcast factory. So boom, there's a transition. And I've made way more than that 12 grand I invested just off of that decision and from the relationships I had in the room. And ever since then, we've invested. I mean, the most I've invested was about 45,000 into a mastermind. And I learned so much there. But what I really learned was what I was capable of. When I had to make that $3,700 a month payment, how I was making that happen was incredible. And now even, dude, I will always invest to be in a room with smart people. We have a $35,000 mastermind that we're a part of now. And it's nothing. I don't want to sound like crass. It's nothing. But I just don't even think about it. It's totally worth the money. And I'm good with it because I get that much value out of it and more, and I'm worth it. When I can say, hey, this is nothing, then other things like having my condo or having Cupcake's Tesla, everything looks a whole lot easier.
Sure. And that's making notes as you're saying that mindset, that belief that I'm worth it. I think a lot of people, if they just use that mantra and actually believe it and write it down. And for you, it was I think it's great that you're sharing because that was a process to get to that point, but now it's internalized in you, correct? I mean, that's part of your belief system.
Dude, and it's a financial thing. I mean, this is not me talking esoterically like, oh yes, I'm worth it and this, that, the other. I sat down at the beginning of this year and look, I do business with my clients. When I pick clients, it's people who I want to be around. It's not that I just take any clients, people that I want to learn from, be around, be influenced by. And we had a couple of our clients put us onto this idea of profit first. And they're profit first certified. They're also Bank on Yourself certified. So I actually already used them for that. And then they put me onto the Profit First thing. And one of the things I had to do was evaluate the business, evaluate expenses, because my expenses were out of control. Nobody taught me how to do this. I'm just here showing up doing work. Uh, and I looked at it and I'm looking at where are our clients coming from? We're running ads campaigns. We're doing direct mail. We're doing masterminds. We're doing content. And when I looked at it, all of our clients were coming from referral or centers of influence, which are both based out of the mastermind. So the biggest money maker for us was already the investment we were making in ourselves. And so it's not just like esoteric. It's, hey, this is dollars and cents if you're doing the right thing. I'm not saying that I join them because I'm going to go extract money. But what I tell people now, Kyle, and some people think I'm crazy when they ask me what I do, I say my job is to make friends. That's it. Make friends. Opportunity comes, good times come, whatever comes of it, I don't care. But all I'm here for is to make friends that can play at the level I can play, and then everything else takes care of itself.
That's great. Now, Jonathan, what about your typical day, right? So you're a successful guy. You got a lot of stuff going on. You got a family. So let's say today, Tuesday. What is it? What is it? The average Tuesday or weekday look like for Jonathan Rivera? What time are you getting up? What's your you getting fitness in? Are you getting studied? Like, what's your day look like?
All right. You know I got this locked. So how detailed do you want me to go? I'm up at 3:59 a.m. Get to the bathroom, you know, get ready, do 50 push-ups, get out to the kitchen. I put on this thing, I don't Human Grow or something like that. I don't know, UV light in my ears, and I listen to classical music because I get out for my workout at 6 a.m. There's no sunlight, so I've been deprived of UV. So I found these weird headphones, and I'll share them with you if you want. You plug them in, and they give you UV light, like you're getting morning sunshine. So I hit that. I empty out the dishwasher while I listen to classical music, getting my brain going. 20 minutes of meditation, and then I go into an hour where I can do whatever I want, whether it's write or read. This morning I read. I'm reading Traction because I'm getting ready for 2021. Then I go out for an hour workout, come back, cold shower, get that head right, drink my greens, right, and then get the morning is usually family time. Get that breakfast in, get that family time. Typically, before I would have talked to you today, I would already had a nap because I was up at 4 and doing things. I didn't do that because I'll have my nap a little bit later. And then the middle of the day is work, and I'm done by 4, daily review. Then the rest is family time.
Wow. So what time are you going to bed then? If you're getting up at 3:59, 4 a.m.
9:30, 10 o'clock.
30, 10. Okay. So very disciplined. And that's what I want people to hear is the discipline that you live with. What now? I know there's got to be a reason, but why 3:59 and not 4?
Will you forget that I just told you that? I'm the guy that gets up at 3:59. That's easy to remember, isn't it?
It's true. That's a great point.
It's a marketing thing, bro.
I love it. And so, and then you're done at 4, and then you got family time. And I think it's important for people too, because at the end, I want to make sure we give people a way to get in touch with you. But you are living a life that other people would look at and say, man, I want to live like that. Maybe not exactly what you do, but your lifestyle. I mean, you got a lot of family time, right? And you've earned that. You get to, I know in years past, right? We were just talking before the air, you would go for a month, let's say it was a Park Valley.
Park City, Utah. Yeah.
You guys would ski for the month. You would still work while you were there, but that's like, man, that's freaking awesome. And talk about that real quick, because that's, I'm sure was a dream in your head, and then you made it a reality, something like that.
Good God, man. Was it ever a dream? I can remember when the dream began, and we were there in 2010 when we were learning to snowboard. Cupcake and I learned to snowboard together because we couldn't stand the ski boots cramping our feet. And we thought, God, a week is not enough. Imagine we can do more. Imagine we can do 2 weeks. Imagine we can do a month. And we did. It took several years of us doing trips. And here's the weird part, Kyle, that when you look at this, it seems crazy. Of course, we have the flexibility because we can run our businesses remotely. But today, in the society we're living in today, more people are actually able to work remotely. So this is actually possible for more people. But when we looked at the cost, we actually were spending less by going for a month or 5 weeks at a time because our lodging was less because we were buying it for longer. Our car rental was less because we had it for longer. We only had one set of plane tickets there and back, so we didn't have multiple trips. And we picked Park City because we've also gone, we love Colorado as well, but we picked Park City because the costs related to living there were more in line with reality than what we saw in Colorado. And so by doing that, it actually was less money than taking 3 ski trips in a year. And we were there 5. I would be crushing the mountain, man. I'd be that. I get out, like I get off a call with you and I go hit the mountain and ride for a while and then come back to work. But yeah, it was a dream forever. And that's the problem with most people today is they don't know what they want. They say they want something different. They might talk about having something different, but can you tell me what something different looks like, feels like, tastes like, smells like? I knew what I wanted. And there's a little tip that I can give you guys out there who are listening. If you don't know what you want, I can tell you how to figure it out and how to really get it ingrained into your system. You think that would be helpful, Kyle?
Yeah, right on, man.
It's called sampling. You know, when you go to the grocery store, Costco or anything, and there's a little sample lady giving you samples so you go buy stuff. Yeah, you can do that in your life. And so we did that by taking the 7 or 10 days to Park City and saying, yeah, we could probably do this longer. We've done it with being at the beach and going for a few days. Then we even started going to the beach for a month at a time. There was a point in time where it was 1 month on the mountain, 1 month on the beach. But what we learned with our 1 month at the beach was we would stay at condos. So we learned that we like condos. We didn't like living at the beach, but we knew we liked condo life. So here we are in a condo because we sampled that lifestyle. You want a nice car? Go sample one. Go rent one. Go get on Turo. Rent that car and see if you really like it so you can feel it in your heart how much you want it. And then it'll help you work for it. So by sampling the things that you want, taking a little chunk, you know, it's easier to get, for instance, here's something that we did. I told you about the beach. And recently, this all fell apart though. I'll tell you about that as well. But recently, we stayed after COVID was over. We went over to New Smyrna Beach and we got a place for a month. And we're like, wow, this is close to home. It's an hour away. We really like this beach lifestyle. Let's sample it for a little longer. So we ended up booking a place for 3 months. And we were like, we're going to really sample this lifestyle. But think about this 3 months, $3,000 a month, $9,000 versus the houses on that block are $700,000. Oh, how much cheaper is it to sample it and live the life and know whether you want it or not? And so that's what I'm saying is like breaking things off into a little sample size chunk that can really give you the taste for it. Like a shark, when they get the taste of blood, they go for it. This is the same thing. When you sample that life and you find that thing you want, it'll help you go for it.
It's a great advice, and that's worth gold for anybody that's going to hear this. How before I move on, how did that fall apart though? I want to hear.
Ah, so we got the place for 3 months. Beautiful. Like we could see the beach from our front door. And the thing about New Smyrna is that there's a whole life there. So whereas we stayed in Daytona before, like after dark, everything was just dead. In New Smyrna, there's restaurants, music, all this stuff. So we could walk to everything. It was beautiful. We loved it and we wanted to be there. And the house was beautiful. Unfortunately, there was these big ass roaches. And we're like, hey, gang, like we really like it here, but these roaches is not our lifestyle. So what are we going to do about this? And they sprayed the place and it got worse because the roaches are trying to get away from the spray. Now they're up on the couch and I'm like, this is now when I see them on the floor, I can deal with them. But when they're trying to crawl up on me, I'm not feeling that. So we're like, we're out of here. We can't do this. We love the place, but unfortunately, that whole thing was not something that we could overlook.
Roaches.
Oh, big, the big water bug kind. And they were brave too. Getting up on the couch is rare because they usually want to run away from you. But if they're running towards me, we have a problem.
All right, I'll be mindful of your time here. I mean, I could talk to you for the whole day, man. You got great stories. But when I say favorite book, one or two books, what comes to mind, Jonathan?
Oh man, I'll tell you an author that comes to mind right now that I really love, and I'm looking at one of his books here. You read Extreme Ownership?
Yeah, but Jocko?
Jocko, yeah. So I'm in love with Jocko. Apparently, I have a man crush. I haven't even gone all the way through this one yet. I mean, I read it. I read the audiobook, and now I'm going through the actual book. But Extreme Ownership is at the top of my list. I think I read it 7 or 8 times last year. So it is pretty sick. I've recommended it to people. Another one that I like to give to people, and I've given to my friends, and some love it, some hate it. Relentless, Tim Grover. Very good book. And talks about the closer mindset versus the cleaner mindset. And we want to be cleaners. Like Michael Jordan was a cleaner. He took no prisoners on his way to being the greatest. And so that one I've given away to quite a few people. And another one that I like to give away, and in fact, I like all his books. I have one sitting back here that I read to Huddy, Steve Seibold, 177 Mental Toughness Habits. And so the thing about Extreme Ownership, Mental Toughness Habits, Relentless, it's about building that grit, that inner strength, that mental toughness, which I know you're a fan of. I think those are the things that build a fortress. We talked about this when you were on the show, building a fortress around your mind so you can get what you want to get. And so a lot of people are going to talk you down. A lot of people are going to try to talk you out of what you want. And you got to build that fortress and that fortitude to say, I don't care what anybody says. You do not matter to me. That's where I'm going, and nothing's going to stop me.
Yeah, and that it gives me chills just hearing you say that, because that it's totally what I believe, man.
I know you, bro.
If I was to ask Cupcake or one of your best buds what your superpower is, what would they tell me?
Being angry. If you ask Cupcake. I would say, so I have asked our clients and some of our team this recently, and it wasn't the answer I expected. But one of the things that came up that I wouldn't say, because for me, if you ask me what it was, it's just showing up every day. Whether things are good or bad, it doesn't matter. I show up every day and make strides. Sometimes it's forward, sometimes it's backwards, but I show up every day. One of the big things that because I was doing an exercise from Strategic Coach, and it was trying to dial into my unique ability, and something that came up from both my team and our clients was the way that they said I cared for them and I listened to them. And it's one of the things that I'm working on with Hudson. And in fact, I put an Instagram post up a couple of weeks ago. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. Why? So we can listen twice as much. But listening to people and letting them know that they are heard, I believe is really powerful. And apparently my team feels that I listen to them, and so do our clients. And I think that's why people stick around, is that I'm here. And I think that goes back to the humility. Is like, if you shut up and listen, you can hear what's going on, and you can hear the opportunity, and you can hear how you can help. And so I think that would be one that they might say, or maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that, man. I'd agree with your assessment of showing up every day and then the listening, and you do a great job with that. People don't realize that's a skill. And I think so many people are they don't have that in their life, even if it's their partner or whatnot, that actually listens to them. So that's a powerful skill to have. How about 5 years from now? Where do you see yourself? What are you doing 5 years from now?
So we were just working on our plan for the next 12 months. And I have to extrapolate that. Uh, it puts me to a place where I'm uncomfortable thinking about. But for instance, over the next 12 months, what I've set a goal for is to get the podcast factory up to 100 clients. And that will take about 6 clients per month. And the client cartel system that we've built, I believe will take us there. That along with the content marketing. If I think further ahead, because I have not thought about 5 years, but we just did an exercise and Mark Evans put us on to this, but what's your life look like in 10 years? And the way I look at it is I'm 100% in unique ability. So we've got multiple companies and I'm doing what I do, which lead, listen, maybe it's part of creating the content or something like that, but I'm leading companies and these companies are paying back to us. I'd like to be bringing in 10 million a year for me, right? So that means these companies have to be doing at least 100 million a year, which is just a scary number to even talk about or think about. And that's why I need bigger and bigger mentors, because I don't know what that looks like. And I am doing more of the family thing, more of the fun thing. I'm doing retreats with my team leaders on the mountain at our mountain house. I'm also donating to the church a couple $100,000 a year, or donating to the school, because the school at Hudson's and we really love and we really want to help them succeed. And so I'm doing philanthropy work, because that's really, for me, what I want to be able to do is have more, do more, be more, and give more. And so if I'm being very general about it, that's what I'm doing. I have more, I'm doing more, I'm giving more. Those are the things I want to be doing, but I'm not stuck on the ground in the mundane stuff. I'm bigger picture thinker, more time with family, more time with friends.
And I hope people that listen to this realize the clarity that you expressed that with. You've obviously put thought into that and you visualize it, and I'm sure you write it down and you put focus on it. And I have no doubt that it will happen because you do that, where most people, they don't crystallize it like you just did. So that's powerful, bro. Last one before we tell people where they can find you. If you were to go back to your 20-year-old self, what advice would you give to 20-year-old Jonathan?
Holy cow. So here, if this is okay with you, Kyle, what I'm going to do is I've got your post on Facebook. So I'm going to share, because I recorded 2 podcasts about this. What would you tell 20-year-old you, and what are you going to look like 10 years from now? So that's why I actually have shows on this, and it's funny that you're asking. But if I just had to tell 20-year-old me one thing, I'm going to try to keep the language clean here. Shut the F up.
Nice and simple.
If you can shut up, then you can listen, right?
That's great, man. To the point. All right, man. This has been a blast. So tell people, because I'll get this blasted out. I'll be sending emails out about this. Where can they find you if they're interested in starting a conversation with you, if they want to start their own podcast? And guys, let me tell you, he's not, like Jonathan said, he's going to be selective in who he works with. So unless you're serious, I would say do not reach out to Jonathan. But where can they get on your email list? Where can they reach out to you? Tell us about that.
Yeah. So anywhere, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, it's Riverathan, Riverathan. That's where you find me on the social networks. And our website is the Podcast Factory. So all roads will lead back to my email list. You get on any of that, I'm going to try to get you onto an appointment or try to get you onto an email, so you can funnel hack me if you wish. But yeah, that's it. Riverathan or thepodcastfactory.com, Kyle. Dude, I love talking to you, and I'm so glad that you invited me on the show. And hopefully, I didn't come off too arrogant. But dude, I appreciate your journey, your growth, and being a part of that, because I still remember our conversations, and I remember your talks about inner strength and mind-body connection and all that. So you have influenced me, and that's why I'll always be a fan.
Thanks, Jonathan. That means a lot, man. You've been a big impact on my life. And So I appreciate it, man. The feeling's mutual. Feeling's mutual. All right.